internship for the third time in last 2 years, and specifically my background comes from astronomy, and I've been involved in science communication in different capacities for the last years. So welcome to Scientia. Mom will now further introduce a little more about Scientia, and Mom, over to you.
Okay, so before I do that, if anybody in the participants doesn't know what kind of work we do, please let us know in the chat. But we hope that all of you have acquainted yourself about Scientia somewhere. So we are publishing bi-monthly editions for the past 3 years. Usually we used to do monthly, but then we shifted to bi-monthly for more quality content. And we have different themes that address to scientific topics. So we are publishing, most of the publishing team is made from students, and it's a volunteer kind of work, but everybody participates equally, and they have a very enthusiastic sense of working. And I see some of other team members have also joined during the session. So I just want to, again, welcome everybody, and just serve a little reminder that I request you all to give your active participation in this internship session. It's going to be very useful, and we hope to make it more interactive with you as we go along as well. And we also appreciate any kind of feedback that you may have for us so that we can improve our work. So I think that's a little brief introduction. I'll encourage you all to read more about our work, and our website is there with the kind of articles and content that we have already. I will move on to our session. Today we have Sara Sultan with us. Sara, are you here? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'll just briefly introduce Sara and her topic. Dr. Sara Sultan is a senior staff member at the California Energy Commission, and she's an energy scientist with over 8 years of experience in sustainable energy research and science communication as well. Her pioneering work on thermal energy storage and decarbonization has earned her numerous accolades. She is very much passionate about bridging science and storytelling, and she has published widely and delivered talks on advancing innovation and sustainability. Today, the topic of her talk is going to be bridging science and storytelling. And yeah, so Sara, over to you for the session.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. I am really excited for this talk. And I gotta tell you, it was very odd for me to prepare this talk. Usually I'm invited for the study abroad sessions or discussions on my dissertation. And I never had to push myself out of my comfort zone for those talks. And for this, there is a lot of pressure on my shoulder to inspire you as future leaders and science writers. And I really hope that you come today with a lot of passion for science and for writing. And just a little bit about myself. I know for a fact that you guys all must be great researchers, science writers, and I understand that you, oops, sorry, my laptop. Okay, it's stable now. Sorry about that. The reason I felt a little nervous about this talk was because it's about everything that I have been doing lately, the science, innovation, writing, coaching, because I wanted to combine all of my passions together. I'm a scientist by profession, and I always found this rule of following the general path of doing PhD and being a professor a little too obvious. So I always thought there was something missing. I love teaching personally, but academia, especially PhD in itself, sure, it's a beautiful training system. It could even get you through midlife crisis in some scenarios, but I thought there's so much untapped potential here. And I always used to think about the impact of my work. What good is my research if I cannot get it out in the world, share with the policymakers, with the innovators, stakeholders who can get my product into the market, and then even publishing, especially if you are in academia, you might have heard this phrase that it does not exist if it's not published. There's a huge pressure everywhere in the world in academia. You have this obligation to keep publishing in top tier reputed journals. Um, my question is, who will read your paper beside the people, the researchers, just like yourself, who might be only using your work as a reference? So there comes my writing bit. I personally love writing, especially creative writing, and I just wanted to make my work interesting enough for an audience who is not researcher in my field. In addition to taking online courses and in-person classes on campus that weren't part of my traditional curriculum, I just put myself out there. I started writing by myself on social media, in my newsletter, contributing to the magazines like Scientia as well. You name it. I did everything I could. All because I had a vision and I had found a way to connect my different passions into this one single thing that I wanted to pursue. As I said earlier, my passion for science, my passion for writing, for storytelling through cinematography, for community building, all of that. And it is a chaos. Really, it's not perfect. But I think it was the most satisfying, beautiful thing that I could ever have done with my life. And that's what I want for you. It has given me the confidence in myself, in my abilities, and in the unorthodox way of my doing things. Let me share my screen. And you can tell me. Okay, it's gonna make me. I don't know. I shared the screen earlier, but it's not working now. Can you check if there's
Yes,
an issue with the missions?
I would check. I would check again. But I guess you have the option. So, yeah.
So the option where I have to click the share screen button, it's like I cannot
Okay.
click grayish.
Okay. Just give me a second. Just give me a second.
Or let me know. I can just rejoin.
Can you try? Can you check it out again?
It's not working. Let me try rejoining.
Okay. Uh, okay. She's getting in.
You are on mute, Sarah. We cannot hear you.
Yeah, it's not letting me share my screen.
Uh,
Okay.
Do you want me to share the presentation with you? It's a short
yeah,
presentation.
yeah, you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Bear with me for a moment. And while we are on that, can I ask the participants maybe say their name and their field of study? That would be really great.
Yeah. Amazing would be. Okay. I think we can start with Kashif.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, as you are.
So this is Muhammad. Yes, this is Muhammad Kashif Raza from Government College University Lahore. I am a bachelor student here in physics. I recently uh, completed my third year in bachelor, and I am interested in solar cells fabrication and characterizations, energy sustainability. and I just completed a fully funded project from Helmholtz-Zentrum, Berlin, Germany, and I just reached here. I think my area and your research direction is matching somehow, so I am interested in listening to you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pulse, can you check if you received my email?
Just a second. Just a second. Let me do it for.
Okay, I can go over the participants for introductions. We have Adnan with us. Adnan, can you share about yourself? We cannot hear you, Adnan.
We can go on to the next one.
Okay. Adnan, you can write in the chat your introduction. Aisha Sultan.
Hi,
Hello, Aisha. we
my
can
name
hear
is
you.
Aisha, and my degree is software engineering. And
Okay.
I'm just here for moral support.
All right. Okay, thank you, Aisha. We have Anwar with us, Anwar Ahmed.
Yes, miss.
Can you introduce yourself? What is your subject? Yeah.
Yes, miss. I'm Anwar Ahmed. I'm recently.
Yes, amazing. It works now.
Okay.
Happens
Ji
always.
Anwar, please
Sorry,
continue.
Anwar. You were
Okay.
saying.
My name is Anwar Ahmed, and recently I have graduated from the University of Education in physics. I have done Bachelor of Sciences in Physics, and now I am doing. I want to do MS Physics, Master of Sciences in Physics from University of Punjab, and now conducting research on medical radioisotopes Terbium 155 and Terbium 152. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Should
you. Anisha?
Okay, you
Um,
guys can raise your hand and just introduce yourself one by one. Because so I guess Virtualan is visible. Okay, yes, Krishna, please.
Yeah, greeting to everyone. My name is Krishna Kumar Mahato. I am from Kathmandu, Nepal. Yeah. I have recently graduated with a BSc Physics over there. Thank you.
Okay, welcome, Krishna. Okay, Khadija, you may.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes. You are audible.
My name is Khadija. I just graduated in genetics from NUMS, National University of Medical Sciences, and my area of research or interest of research is precision medicine and epigenetics.
Okay, amazing. Okay, Khwaja Idris, you may.
Hi everyone, I'm Fazil Kabir from Government College University Lahore. I'm currently doing Bachelor's of Sciences in Physics. Yes, thank you everyone.
Okay, Bisma, you may.
Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Bisma and I'm undergraduate final year student of physics from Government College University, and I am interested in astronomy and particle physics, and I'm working for NASA citizenship program in searching for the asteroid camping.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Yes.
Hello. Good evening.
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So my name is Khwaja Idris Hassan, and I have completed my master's in nuclear physics through the Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Degree Program. Currently, I'm working with my professor on some of his research project. Thank you.
Okay, Zainab, you may.
Hi everyone, I'm Zainab and I'm currently pursuing my bachelor's in biotechnology and minoring in data analytics from FC College Lahore. Thank you.
Okay, Gopika, you may.
Yeah, hello everyone. Happy to be a part of this program. I am Gopika from India. So I have recently completed my PhD in computational chemistry. I have a background in the interface of chemistry and physics, like statistical mechanics, to understand the quantum effects in glass transition. I am interested in like exploring the areas of science communication and to let others know what we are doing, how we are doing, and things like that. Thanks for having me here. Nice to meet you all.
Okay, Kortula and Yume.
Am I audible, everyone?
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. I guess I am one of the, I don't know, maybe the only doctor in the community. So
Amazing.
I used to be a science communicator during my medical school years, and I love teaching, especially women about STEM careers and role models, because we don't have many, or we are not aware if we have. Now, mashallah, we have one of them is sitting as a guest here today. I just want to, I guess, resume working and spreading STEM and science-related knowledge to my peers. And academic writing and scientific writing is something which can help me in my path. So yeah, just here to learn and grow.
Okay, amazing. Arisha, Yume. Okay.
Hi, Assam. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are. You are. Yes, yes, you are audible. Yes, you are audible. We can hear
Hello?
you.
Can you hear me? Zarisha, I have recently completed my bachelor's in chemistry from Federal Urdu University of Applied Science and Technology, Karachi. And currently, I'm working as a QC officer in Lee Mendoza Pharmaceutical. I have also participated in international conferences, including the one held in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And I'm very thrilled to be here in this internship. And I'm very thankful to the team for selecting me. Thank you so much.
Okay, the last one, I guess, Noor. Okay, Mariam, Yume. Yes, yes, Noor, Noor, sorry. Noor, Yume. I thought you were paused. Noor, we can hear you.
Yes, yes.
Your voice is a little cut. You can just.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Now we can hear you.
Hello, everyone. I am Nur Muhammad. I hold a bachelor's degree in physics from University of Bunir. Currently, I am a teacher, teach physics and mathematics.
Okay, very good. Mariam, you may now.
Assalamu alaikum. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
So I'm Mariam Akbar. I'm a 12th standard student pursuing pre-engineering education, and I really aspire to study further in the field of space, particularly in aerospace engineering or in space science, BS space science as a plan B. Thank you.
I guess we are done with most of them, and we are really delighted to have you guys over here. A diverse set of people, not only from Pakistan, one have joined from Nepal, two from India. This is amazing. Quite from global south. We are very happy, and we are proud to have you guys on board. And this is our first session. And now I will get over to you, Sara. You may continue.
Thank you. All right, you can
Your
see
screen
me.
is visible. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I wanted to start with being you. Wake up the rebel inside you. As I said earlier, that there is not one way to do things. For example, I mentioned about the unorthodox way of mine that I did things. And that's what I want for you, to try things the way that they work for you. It will immensely help you in your career, in your future, as it helped me as I was applying for the jobs that are highly sought after. I certainly owe it to one thing, and that is writing. So we talk about writing as a tool to find your voice. You might not know in the beginning what you want to write about. It's some messy world inside your brain. But you have to start writing. You have to start somewhere. Write everything that comes to your mind. It's a process of getting your brain to work. You see, human brains are just like machines. Just like you get a brand new machine at home and you don't know how to use it, what do? You just start working on it. You go with the flow. Take coffee maker, for example. You just start pouring water and run it by the machine, and after doing it 2, 3, or even more times, you get there. You'll know how to operate it. You will know how much time would it take to make your coffee, everything. And you can read the manual again and again, but you won't be able to understand the process if you don't do it yourself. So, which is why writing, practicing is the key. And it's the same with any machine or any mechanical system that makes things easier for you or that does things for you on your behalf. It could be a pencil. Pencil is is a machine, right? As a kid, you did not know what you were doing, just making those lines on the paper, and it seemed like it didn't lead anywhere at that time, but it really did. Your line became perfect, and you learned how you like your lines to be. We'll do the same thing with the writing. We'll keep practicing it, and that way you will learn about the art of writing for yourself. You will learn what works for you, and you can find the material, the training stuff, and consume as much training material as you want, but you won't really have your own voice unless you deliberately start finding it. And the way you find it is by writing. So this brings me to our first interactive activity. Since we went through the introduction part for quite a bit, I know you guys know a little bit more than what folks told me about. Instead of giving you some time to write about it, I will just explain these questions and you can do it in your time. And if you had any questions, you can reach out to me by my email that I will share later. So, who are you if you were a lead character in a movie? I want you to write 5 sentences about yourself for these questions. There's no word limit. You can write as much or as little as you want, but the more you write, the more you take stuff out of your mind, it will be helpful for you to craft your own story at the end. That's the main goal for this session, is you want to have something written at the end of this session. So if you were a lead character in the movie, what would your role would be? If I think about myself, I think it would be that I am someone who is directing things around her, or around whom the story revolves, and she is leading how to take the story, or she's directing others in the community. What pleases you aesthetically? For me, I can look at water for long amount of time. Someone needs to mute themselves. Sorry. Okay. That pleases me aesthetically. That brings me into the mood where I get calm and peaceful. So it could be something different for you. Think about that. What can you talk about for hours without preparing? And here you talk about causes or topics that you care about. I can talk about writing, I can talk about women empowerment, I can talk about misogyny, privileges that men have in the community, and problems that career women, especially mothers, face in the society. I can talk about all that stuff. So you list all those topics that you care about, that you can talk about for a long time, and then you will choose to use one of those in the context later on. What inspires you to be drawn into your element? Nice weather, breeze, cool breeze, air, and maybe grass and trees. I think if I'm hot or if I'm tired, I will just go lay down in my hammock and try to breathe the air. That does something to my brain, and it's really helpful for me to come back to whatever writing block that I'm going through. What are you best at, or what do you have that people will seek your advice on? I would say relationships, not like couple relationships, but in general, when people have issues managing or navigating their emotions with their loved ones. It could be their parents or their friends. They talk to me. So that's what I'm good at. Okay, you can think about all these things and you can write it down. This is an exercise to get you thinking about who you are, what your perspectives could be. Now we talk about science in general. Science of life. When we talk about science, we don't really connect to it. That's our problem, because we think of it as a different subject. As I asked all of you to introduce yourself, you explained your subjects. I don't think I have heard anyone mentioning why, what's the impact, or why have you chosen this subject, or what's your passion in general. We think about being a subject matter expert when we talk about science, and we give in to that pressure because we think that we have to know everything, or we have to be that expert. But that's not how it should work. Sometimes answers is in the feelings and in the connections. You have to feel the science around you, connect to the everyday science. Think like a scientist. And being a scientist does not mean you have to be a subject matter expert. You just connect yourself to the phenomena and explain it like with every simple thing in your life. There is science in everything. Science of getting good sleep, science of eating healthy, science of brewing coffee, science of cooking, science of happiness, science of machines in your homes and your vehicles, science of energy that goes in and out of your body and in and out of your homes. So yeah, it is everywhere. It is in our daily lives, within ourselves. And you need to know how to find it, how to live it, how to tell it. So for example, if you are talking about energy, you don't talk about, I can go on and on about thermal energy storage, how we put there, or what kind of configurations we can use. But in simple terms, what I want you to understand is that in this home, I want you to be comfortable. And the comfort comes from the temperature, the weather that you feel inside home, the climate of it, the building that's inside where you're sitting. So if you feel hot or if you feel cold, we need a system that's get to regulate the temperature, the climate of the place that you're sitting in. I don't talk about the nuances or go into details about the thermal storage, because not everyone will know what that thing is, and not everyone will be able to understand it. So that's the power of science. You have to feel what's around you. And why do we tell stories? Just like science, there are stories everywhere as well. But why do they need to be told? Why are they important? Entertainment is one thing, sure, information is another. But the main idea behind storytelling is building connections. We want to share our experiences. We want the readers to feel the things the way we feel about them. We want them to relate to us. And you will know, once you get into writing and storytelling, you will know that not every story is meant to be told. It's for every audience. There is a unique audience for each story. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But so combining all those things, power of storytelling in science. Everything in science starts with a passion to drive change. Every discovery in science starts with a question: how to change what we already know an experience about that particular phenomena, how to change what we have come to so far. And millions of scientists in the world do what they do is to create that impact. But again, my point is that impact being translated into the real world. That's the biggest driver in storytelling for science. And that's the question I want all of you to ask yourselves. Whatever you're doing with your degrees, do you think that there is a way that you can explain this to a normal person in a passionate way, in a storytelling way? You see, the power of storytelling does not lie within the phenomena, it lies in the context. Why is it told? The way is it being told? And the way it relates to you in particular, relates to your community or people around you in particular. So now we talk about, as an example, think about any science fiction movies that you like. Why do you like that movie? What's so special about that story? And think about the science phenomenon they used in the story. How was it developed? I don't know, but I think most of people might have watched Star Wars, so I will take that as an example. And sure, it is my favorite science fiction movie. Let's go deep into these questions and talk about the Star Wars story a little bit. What do you think the theme of the story is? Again, please take your time and note these questions, or you will get these slides from Fauz as well. You can do it in your time later, or if you want to do it right now, you can pick with me. So the theme of the story in Star Wars is, and again, there's no right and wrong answers. It's your perspective. Remember that. Whatever you feel, whatever you think is true, just go with that at the moment. So I think the theme of story in Star Wars was, it was a power struggle between two different groups. It's not, I am literally being unbiased here. I'm not going to say who was right in the movie or who was wrong, why someone wants to control the other person, but I'm impartially explaining the theme of the story to you, and that's what you will do as well. So in an impartial way, it's a power struggle. There is one group that wants to control the universe and wants it to be the way they want it to be, and that's the other group which rebels against that idea of theirs, and the whole story revolves around that theme. And then they talk about light and dark. So the target audience, who do you think the target audience is? I thought it's the youth, people who have a vague idea about what's right and wrong, and they are trying to inspire them to understand that there's good and bad in every person, and sometimes evil takes over. And what change would the audience feel in their hearts after watching or reading this story? Again, think about what message does the author and director want to convey here? What's their objective outcome? And again, being impartial, the objective outcome was to understand how things work in different governments, and how politically charged environments can play a role with the light and dark theme, with the that theme of power struggle. And they want to change how audience thinks about the political that political scenario, and how we think about light and dark in our hearts. In whose perspective is the story being told? I think it was a main character. His name was Luke, and two other his friends who were with him on the journey. His perspective is being told. Now I want you to think about this. If this perspective is shifted, if instead of Luke being a protagonist, the antagonist perspective is being told in the story, what would that be like? If you get a chance, you try to write about that. Try to retell the story that's already being told in your perspective and change the scenarios a little bit. And I think you will learn a lot from that exercise. And now the most important question, what is the science at heart and how is that explained? Think about the connection, that phenomena that I talked about earlier. So they use a couple of different scientific themes in the story. There's a theme of universe, the solar system. There's a theme of transportation, how they're transferring messages from one planet to the other. And there's a theme of using the aircrafts. Now, interesting thing, they don't go into details about how the aircraft is being made, but there are two different episodes where they go deep into the aircraft thing. One where the kid is using that to but destruct that planet, sorry. And the other one where one of the protagonists is using the main Falcon. The aircraft is named Falcon. So do you realize that they do not go into details of how the aircrafts are being operated and how they're being built, but they create this story, these little moments that got us interested in all those phenomena, and we can connect to the characters, the way they maneuver that and they navigate it. So that's what I want you to do. Think about how to connect the phenomena with everyday life without going into nuances. Okay, innovation and sustainability. First thing you should know that everything is a big deal. Everything should be a big deal when you tell the story. As we talked earlier, that in the movies or books, there is much detail into the connection itself and feelings, not the phenomena. Have you noticed that there are scenes showing very little things in everyday life, like bring the coffee in the morning, or catching a bus to school, or alarm clock, putting a tie for work? All of those little things, they don't have much meaning, but they build the story. They add a depth to it because we can connect with those little moments. The familiarity and connection with the events of that story gives us a lively feel. It hooks us, which is why it's an essential part of storytelling, and which is why every little thing will become a big deal for you. We are looking at the feelings associated with those events, and we're not looking at the things itself. Remember that. And now you craft your narrative. Science writing should not be about stating facts to the audience. They have Wikipedia for that, right? Why would someone write your story if you are just telling what every other website in the world is telling? Your role as a storyteller isn't simply presenting those facts, it's threading a story that will allow those facts to come alive. You have to guide your audience from what they don't know to what they need to know. Remember that example of the aircraft. They want us to know how much hard work goes into building these, and how a pilot carries himself and how he maneuvers these things and what kind of technology is used. But they do not go into all those details. They just show in the story. They build the story with little things. And that's what you need to do. And the second thing you need to do is you have to come out of the traditional way of communication. As you all mentioned, you guys are expert in different fields, in physics, in astronomy, in space science. What we do as an expert in that field, we are living in the bubble of that community. IT people will only relate to other computer scientists in the world. Physicians will only tend to write about things that healthcare professions can understand. Mathematicians will speak to their kind, and so on and so forth. So the goal is to expand that bubble, break those boundaries, and come to the very end. So there is a bubble where that's you in your world of physics. Then there is a next bubble where there are stakeholders that are interested in your work and will engage with you. There's a third bubble where there are policymakers, innovators, entrepreneurs who are interested in commercializing your product. Then there is a fourth bubble, which is government bodies, regulatory bodies. Beyond that, layers by layers, you go to the end, and there is the final bubble, which is where you want to be, at the edge, where you meet general public who do not associate with any of those professions at all. You have to break those boundaries and come to that edge. And you have to think about, how would you explain it to them so that they don't get lost, they keep their attention, and it is still interesting to them. Think about how you will speak to a child. How will you patiently take their questions, answer without judgment, go into every detail, make it interesting to get their attention? That's what you do when you explain it to a child, and I think that's a beautiful way to take things, with an impartial lens, starting from zero, being in their shoe and thinking like you don't know anything. I worked on water purification project in my master's dissertation. And I was like, how do I explain this thing? It's complicated. If I say to you what my topic of dissertation was, you're like, whoa. It was water desalination using humidification, dehumidification technique. Now, what is that technique? Who will understand it? So what I did, I came up with an analogy to a natural cycle, that there is a lake, there's water, there's sunlight. What sunlight does is the heat from the sun evaporates that water, it makes clouds, and when the clouds are heavy, it rains. So that's evaporation, and that rain thing coming back is condensation. So water goes up when it's hot and it comes down when it's cold. And that's how I compared it to my mechanical system, and it was very easy to explain in that way, and I loved it. I think that was the first time I ever used science communication without thinking about science communication at all. So take it from there and build a narrative around it. And once you start behaving like a child, and at the end, things will start making sense when you piece everything together. And finally, you don't have to do things like everyone else. You have to find your own ways of doing things. That is the beauty of innovation. You have to listen to your preferences. You have to figure out what works for you. Be unique, be yourself. Because innovation is not always doing new things that have never been done before. It's often doing the same thing in a very different way. And now we talk about science of sustainability and innovation. I think of sustainability as a narrative. It's not just a set of practices, but it's an ongoing story of our relationship with the earth. When I talk about sustainability, I think of everything around me as a living object. Earth is a living object. I get personal. I name my vegetables and fruits. I make a habit of trying to buy locally from farmers, not from the market. And the reason for that, if I want to explain it to someone else, I would be like, okay, this fruit, this is a living object, right? And I don't want it to go through so much cruelty. And if it's going through that, I will not support it. And that's my way of supporting it. Because if I buy from the grocery store, that little poor thing has gone through so many chemical sprays. It has been genetically modified, so it's like changing things in your body through injections, which I won't want for myself. Why would I support a fruit that has been gone through all that? Same thing. I treat everything in a similar way. It's been a year and a half, I think I've stopped wearing makeup. I use natural things, just oil or beetroot powder or stuff like that. Because I don't want to keep feeding that industry that is being cruel to our planet. And there are so many definitions of sustainability. One definition is thinking in perspective of climate, in perspective of Earth, the environment, and the other perspective is thinking about yourself. What's going into your body? What's going on your body? All those amount of chemicals and toxicity. Um, that's one thing. But another thing that's important is self-sustained life. If I want to inspire someone to have a self-sustained life, I will tell them that I hate to be dependent on an economy, on a market that I cannot control. So I want to have my own little garden of things that I use in daily life. That's one way of being self-sustained. I do homesteading, that's self-sustaining. I make my own soaps, I make my own candles, my own cleaning products, my own cosmetic products. All of that is self-sustaining. So you have to think about your own definitions of sustainability. What is your vision of sustainable living? What do you think is a sustainable life? I want you to think about that. I want you to look at your everyday life right now and think what it looks like in relevance to your definition of sustainability. And when you do that, think about how climate change and pollution can inspire you to intentionally adopt that sustainable life. As I said, everyone's vision, everyone's definition of sustainable life would be different. And that's okay. You can go all in, you can do everything, or you can just start with simple things. For example, I have very I don't know how to explain it in words, but I hate plastic. I have stopped using plastic bags, anything plastic at our home for quite some time. We use cast iron or glass cookware, and we use all those materials that are not synthetic. So it could be just that one thing and none of the other things, and that could be my vision of sustainable living, and that would have been okay. So you just have to start somewhere. You just have to think about that and think, how would it change your perspective and change people around you, and how does the environment or pollution around you inspires to do that change. For me, I'm allergic to dust, and as I said about plastics, I'm very cautious about my overall health of my child, um, and I think about the synthetic products that we are using in our house and how they imbalance our hormone system or our health overall. So that was one motivation. And the other motivation in general to contribute to the environment, because I don't like living in this hottest planet that Earth has been since past 2 years. It's been so hot. I hate it. And I think we all have contributions somewhere, somehow. So I want to change that personally. And that's one of my inspiration to adopt this kind of life. So your inspirations could be totally different. As I said, there's no right and wrong. There's only perspectives and visions. So think about how can you be innovative and create your own set of rules to improve your life quality. And this is the last part of my talk. I will talk about the art of writing. I mentioned the art of science of storytelling, and now we end it with the art of writing. And first thing you do is you train your mind how to think. As I mentioned, you have to do things your way, and you have to be innovative. And to be able to do that, you have to ask questions. It depends on how your mind is wired for thought. You have to embrace that scientific method in your everyday life. That means pushing your boundaries to go against what your core belief is. Very nice example for that. Actually, if we know things to be true, we often have a cognitive bias. It's a mental shortcut. Your brain can process that information quickly when it relies on your personal experiences, your emotions, or the patterns that are already familiar. For example, if you are a sports fan, let's say, I think there are people from India and Pakistan as well, and you all watch cricket. And we have that thing of supporting our players when we talk about losing in cricket, that team is unpredictable. It was not a good day for them. It's a great team. But sometimes you can be really unbiased in making those claims that we fail to understand that no, the one who was a good team has won today. There are no other explanations for that. Your team was not good enough today, so let it be. And that's the difference between a sportsman and a sports journalist. You want to be the journalist, you don't want to be the fan. You want to analyze the situation in the context in a given time. Given that you don't know what is true, you just need to analyze it and know how to validate it. For example, if you go to a doctor and you get prescribed something, there is a very simple response, a common, I would say, unscientific response. One, I will take it because I trust you. Two, I won't take it because I don't trust you. These both are not reasonable responses. You need to ask your doctor, does he understand what's causing the headache? What's the root cause? Why does he recommend this specific treatment? What are the ingredients in the medicine? Where is it manufactured? How the pill works? What conditions it has been tested? All those questions will help you understand and establish the truth. And the next thing, once you have established the truth, you have to prepare to effectively communicate. So uncovering the truth isn't enough. You have to be persuasive. You have to be effective. And in order to do that, you need to prepare. And by preparing, I think I go by reading. I read a lot. I do a lot of research on the words that have been used in different writings. And then not just on the topic itself, but on the audience. What my audience will be, what would they like to hear? What would their thought process be like? Try to be in their shoe and ask yourself, how would you like to be told that story if you were them? And again, the key is being able to connect, being able to feel, and being able to convince them that you are on their side in uncovering the truth. And very last thing, you have to open yourself to everything life throws at you. You learn from experiences, and experiences are a great teacher. But most of all, you learn from the opportunities that present themselves to you in many different ways. It could be a topic that someone told you to write, or it could be an adversity that you yourself are going through in your life. Sometimes it could be something really hard to understand because you don't know it. Again, the cognitive bias. Your brain will try hard to fight against it, fight against you to learn that unknown thing. It feels like an unexplored, unfamiliar area, and you avoid going into that uncomfortable territory. But here's the thing. As soon as you dive in, it's all a breeze. You won't remember your procrastination and hesitation once you have mastered that topic and learned about it. And often there is a point in life when you're tired, you're exhausted, you're burned out, and there are some kind of learnings in those moments as well. So don't be afraid of learning, don't be afraid of exploring, because that's where the stories are, and that's where the life exists. And a couple of unbreakable rules. Number one, show, don't tell. You have to find a way to explain how the story progresses in the in your work without telling exactly how. So let me give an example. You are describing a scene where someone is sitting in a room. If you want to tell, you will say there's a room, there's a chair, she's sitting on chair, and she's writing. But when you show, you go with the reader itself. She walks into the room and she finds the chair placed neatly beside the table, and she writes by the candlelight. So remember, I don't mention where the candle is, but I talk about the candlelight. So that's how you bring different elements into the story. You have to show your reader a scene, a proper scene, as if you are capturing it through a camera. And then devil is in the details. You don't leave vague information. As I said, you talk about things the way you talk to a child. You explain everything and then you go through the editing process so that you don't leave anything on a chance. And last thing, leave some things up to the reader. Don't conclude for them. Don't tell them what to feel. I was watching this master class by Neil Gaiman, and he's my favorite author. I love his storytelling. And he talks about this, that don't tell the audience what to feel. And I was really inspired by that, because he said that if you leave your reader crying or laughing, that's what you really need to achieve. You don't need to tell them that feel sad or be miserable. You just leave it to the story. You don't conclude anything for them. You don't give them morals. So I'll leave it at that. And there's a kind of a homework, or I don't know, this is something that you can go through in your spare time. Put everything into action, whatever you have learned. You discovered yourself as a character, as a storyteller. You found this theme and perspective and style of a story. And then you understood the science of the phenomena. You combine all those things. And now you write a letter to someone living in year 2050 in future. You have to describe a future where sustainability is a great way of life. Think about what your life would be in the future, but 50 years from now, what your life would look like if it's a sustainable way of living. How does that feel to be in that world, to live in that world? And what did you do? What things you did to get there? And focus on this message that you will give at the end, that the future is shaped not just by what we know, but the stories that we tell about it. That's the story you will tell. Okay, so I will leave you at that. This is my contact information. And if you have written something for me to look at, I'll be very happy to. My review process would be slower. I might not be able to give you a detailed review, but I'll be happy to look at your writings. You're welcome to contact me. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, Sara, for such an amazing and enlightening talk. Your personal experiences really help us a lot, especially starting from the very basics until breaking the rules. Those were really very intrinsic experiences that we, as writers and people from a STEM background, do have in our daily lives. So I think they are very really helpful and inspiring, to be very honest. And I think now we should start with Q&A. Q&A, you guys can raise your hand and ask questions, anything, and let's make this session pretty more active, from passive to more active. You can raise your hand for questions.
Also, Sara, your last slide was not that much clear. So if you can share your contact details in the chat, if it's possible.
Sure.
Thank you.
Please, you can raise your hand when you have to ask questions. Okay, yes, go pick a question, please.
Yeah, hello. Thanks for the session. It was quite interesting and informative for a beginner like me. So my question is generally when you talk about science communication, it's not only the field that you are focused on, right? For you, it is for you it is energy and sustainability, but you might be writing about something else that you are not an expert on, right? So when you do that and you do the research and for that you read stuff and my one thing is like when you read things and try to uh, come up with your own story, sometimes you might be influenced by the thing that you read. Like you might be copying kind of unintentionally copying what has you have read. So I wanted to know how you try to avoid that kind of a situation.
Thank you. Yes, that's a very great question. And that's called cultural bias. So the cognitive bias is you go by your personal experiences and you draw. The cultural bias is when you um, go by some resources or things that you believe are true, but not all the time that will be true. So what you need to do is you need to listen to the both sides. You need to find this will be a little if I go deep into this answer, this might get a little controversial, but here it goes. So vaccines are a big controversial topic. Some people are really biased against the vaccines, that they are not good, and some people are biased towards the vaccines, that there's no better science around it. For years of research, after years of research, I have come up with a conclusion that there is it's it's hard to be impartial, and I'm trying not to give my personal opinion here, but what I'm trying to say is that I have read all or at least most of those things that go against the vaccines and those that go in favor of vaccines. And how I try to do that is find peer-reviewed research articles, find the research that has been cited many times, or the research that has been validated, because the opinions or the videos, they are not a good resource. They are just someone's opinion, just like I am sharing my opinions. This all of this was my opinion. This is not a research. That when I write research paper or when I try to write science article, what I try to do is find peer-reviewed or find validated articles that have nothing to do with opinion, but they have drawn the conclusions based on the facts and have validated them again and again. But the key is to read both sides. Always read both sides. Will uh, you will always have a bias if you just go by one side. Does that answer your question? Are you looking for where to get the resources from, or the process that I just explained, how to go about it?
Yeah, something I was thinking was when you uh, read from some source, we need to bring out the original content, right? Like it should be our own thing, but not influence. Like the information is from the source, but the story should be ours, right? But somehow I feel that at some point we get unintentionally get like
I
copy what. is
For that, that's why I mentioned that you go by the feeling and the connection yourself. So first draw out that outline, draw out that vision. For example, in writing that story, I asked you what your vision of sustainability would be, what you think. And while doing that, you don't need to go to any resources. And there could be a cognitive bias because you will be drawing on what you already know. Once you have some structure, then you go and find some resources and try to compare your work against them and see if you are aligning with any one of those more, and you want to establish a neutral way of doing things. But then in terms of influence, it's really okay in the beginning to have an influence from someone's writing style or some sources that you like. It's okay. If you're writing for the first time and you think that your inspiration is heavily influenced by some other journalist's work, that's okay because you are adopting your style. And that's what I mentioned in the beginning, that you have to practice your writing to find your style. But once you start writing more regularly, you will see that things are shifting, and now you have something already drafted out, a narrative in your mind that you are drawing your work upon, and you are not really following all of those resources that you just consumed. But as far as influence goes, it's okay to have an influence. Just be aware that it should not be biased.
yeah. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Yes, Surush, you have a question as well. You can share.
Hello, thank you so much for such a productive hour, first of all. Second of all, I wanted to ask, like, I'm a literature student as well. So at what point does science communication like starts blending into sci-fi? Because like there's a fine line in between the two, because like in sci-fi you're also like showing your characters feelings and how do they feel about such a one crisis or the other. But in like science communication, you're telling people, okay, like what is this phenomena. So like should there be a proportion, like should there be like 60% science and like 40% or some percentage like that?
It depends on your style, Sarosh. Um, Sci-fi movies or sci-fi fiction, that's a fictional world, and it's most of the time not a real story. It's sometimes not a real phenomena as well. If you go through a lot of Marvel movies, they don't know what they're doing. Sometimes I don't agree to a lot of their stuff, but they are just, I want you to take inspiration from their way of communication. And yes, there is a fine line between science fiction and science communication, but that fine line is reality. Fiction is not reality. Science communication is based on the real fact of the phenomena. And that storytelling, there is no right and wrong about the storytelling or any proportion. It totally depends on you. If I talk about sustainability, I will talk about how I go out on a walk in the morning. So there will be a lot of realistic fictional stuff that I will find a way to style it as in a good piece of literature. But within those little moments, there will be phenomena of science that I will be explaining, and that will be science communication. All of it will be science communication. As I said earlier, that there is a science in explaining a good sleep or a good sustainable life, but that life is also very general, and when you write it in form of literature, it has a tendency to feel like a fiction, and it's a good way to tell a story. It could be real but feels like a fiction, and that's okay.
Thank you so much.
Well, I guess there is one more question in the chat from Zainab.
Let me see.
Sara, can you go through or may I read?
Yes, I can go through it. Do you think we could be empaths if we try to connect with the rest of the world through our individual crafts, storytelling? Yes. I think being an empath has a lot to do with the storytelling. You connect with the story, you feel it, you feel the emotions that you are going through in explaining that story. And that's how you become an empath. Being an empath is being able to understand and being able to relate to the emotional struggles that other people are going through, and being able to articulate your feelings in such a way that they feel a connection to you. That's being an empath. And storytelling is beautiful part of that process. Actually, if you go through my newsletter or even my Facebook post, I am considered as a highly sensitive person. It's a diagnosis. You can go through it online. And I'm an empath, and it comes with a lot of challenges. Sometimes it takes a lot of toll on my brain. I can feel vibes and energies around me from people, and it's beautiful thing to do. So you can go through some of my written work. It's the social media work is not exactly science communication, but you will learn a lot about empath storytelling from that.
I think most of questions are being answered, and thank you again, Sara. Thank you for joining us. And everyone can send her emails, queries, whatever you have. She is available. She is very helpful and kind, and we can start over again some next time. And thank you, Sara. And I would like to request all the other interns to stay for a while for 5 to 10 minutes. We are gonna discuss a few things and announcement, and then we can end this webinar.
Thank you so
Sara.
much for having me. Okay, take care. Have a good day.
So I would.